Thank you for tuning in to KBOB 89.9. I know you are enjoying the vibes and you're enjoying the tunes, but it is now time to tune in to the Black Love Club.
It's the Black Love Club. We on the radio. Turn the speaker up. You could tune in this live stream, but vibe into the dial into the station. Join the conversation. Hey yo, say the Black Love Club is on the radio. You could tune into the live stream, just vibe into the dial into the station. Hey yo, yeah, the Black Love Club, we on the radio. Up and welcome back to the Black Love Club. It is Nikki Talks, and we are back here at the Black Love, where Black Love is real, Black Love is strong, and Black Love still exists. So, you guys, I'm so excited. We have a lovely guest lined up for you today. Y'all have been seeing the posts, everything. We got some books out. We got some books out. Do y'all see that? But I'm really, really excited. We've been posting about it. It's going to be really awesome. But you guys, y'all. I'm always sitting up here trying to recollect how my week's been, but my week has been good. Well, first of all, we had like a really good time this weekend. Uh, a really great man, Bobby Eaton Sr. He actually had a birthday. We had a birthday party for him, and it was really awesome. He's turned 90.
Oh yeah.
This Tuesday on the 26th. So that was really awesome, and that was really cool. So we did that. And we was preparing for that. And I think did we have something else the earlier that day or something like that?
Well, we did. I think my mic is off.
It should be on. Talking.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You on?
Okay. Yeah, we did, but we canceled it.
Oh
yeah, we had.
Well, I don't even remember what it was. That's crazy.
No, we canceled
I felt like
it because
we did something.
There was a big storm this morning, and a lot of
so we had
lost power.
a cohort that we did with Tulsa Accelerate. So like if you're ever looking for like how you can get in the community, how can you learn more in the community and stuff like that, it did sound a little bit off, but everything is up. But the Accelerate North Tulsa is so good. And that's with the Met Cares Foundation. And we actually won first place with that. We're supposed to do our workshop with the guys this Saturday, but it was like crazy rain and it was like weird, and I did not know what was going on. It was like crazy. So we end up not doing it. And so yeah, we got ready for everything else that day, but everything turned out to be great. The dates actually turned out to be so perfect. It was crazy. The rain just like skedaddle, but that's how weather do us, right? So yeah. How was your week, Prime?
Ooh, my week. Yeah, today's been a kind of a busy day for me, so it's hard to really think too much past what happened, outside of the crazy weather we had went through. But honestly, I spent today. I was at the Worklahoma Job Fair. That was actually a pretty great experience, and we apparently did a good enough job. They invited us back out. It was fun. It was nice meeting people who were, interested in changing their circumstances. A lot of people, complain about things aren't going their way or they can't find something. But to be in the company of so many people who are wanting to actively do something is big, and to be able to interview them and give them opportunities to grow and progress is great.
That's awesome. What about you, Richard Roots? How was your week?
Man, we did the same thing.
I know.
I want to say that every time.
Yeah,
I was like, I talk like y'all had these two polarly different weeks. I was like, y'all was together most of the time.
Most of the time, man. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like whenever you see me, you see her. If you see me and you don't see her, she's somewhere close.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know. That was really the highlight, man. I couldn't. It was so much of a highlight. I can't even think about what else I did, but it was just such an honor.
We had the mixer
to be there.
Oh, I just want to say that.
We did. Yeah, we did. We was actually just talking about that. So we had the mixer, and
For
the
KBOB.
mixer was for KBOB. We got an opportunity to like really like meet the other show hosts,
Mhm.
you know, for that shows, because we don't really get an opportunity to really just like converse. Because I
Yeah.
run into people all the time, and they're like, "Oh, so you know, Dr. Smiley. Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah.
We don't be in the studio at the same time, but
Yeah.
um, this was our first. This was all of our first mix, so we were able to make. So, I mean, that was good. That was a
Yeah.
highlight. You're right.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's good, especially whenever you're new, getting started in something. You want to study the people who already succeeded in that.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
there's a lot of established shows who've been doing this for years. Just a
Yeah.
chance to kind of be in the same room,
Mhm.
hear how they articulate themselves, their elevator pitches, because we all got told we had to speak on that moment's notice.
Yeah, definitely.
How they're going about promoting their brands and what they're doing out in the community. I think that's great.
Yeah, and we have some really amazing shows. I
Facts.
mean, like we have we rich with Kuma, and then there is Money Matters with Dr. Smiley.
Pops Youth
Pops
Empowerment.
Youth Empowerment. There is News You Can Use. Obviously, everybody's heard of News You Can Use. There is the Juice Radio Show, and also with the Juice Radio Show, I just wanted to shout out that they're also going to have. They've been having the mayor. He comes like once a month. Mayor Nichols. He comes once a month, and he's on the Juice Radio Show. And the Juice Radio Show is with the youth, and it's really awesome. And also, Uncle Bobby shared how even one of the kids from the Jews actually went to school for journalism just because of that experience. So that's really amazing that the impact is being made here. So I love that. So yeah, if you ever consider donate to the Juice Radio Show, y'all. This get these kids like experience with something that they never would have gotten any other time. But we got some amazing shows, y'all. But y'all, let's jump into the news portion of the day. Like I gotta talk about this because we talked about it last week. And y'all, so I don't know who is marking your bingo card,
Uh-oh,
but
here we
y'all, we have the and y'all can see it over there too, since it's not popping up right there. But the 10 escapees out of Orleans Parish Jail, y'all, we are down to the last two. And
Yeah, I think I lost some of
hold
our
on, let me
money.
move these captions out the way. He did
My
not lose our
parlay not
money.
looking too good. Not
He,
joking.
he did not. But
Prime over here like, man, you better not be over there betting on these black men.
Oh
nah,
man.
but y'all, we're down to the last two. Antoine Massey and Derek Groves, y'all. And y'all know my money is on Grove. I think Grove is in Cuba somewhere, and he is out of the country. And the man say he free. That is crazy. We sitting over here betting over these people. But
Wow.
y'all, yeah, this is crazy. But I just wanted to update y'all on that because hey, you know what? We gotta
Money
know
talks.
this.
I get it. It's a financial show. You want to
It-
talk about betting advice. I get it.
Yeah, all that. So, but yeah, just like I said on the Juice Radio Show, you guys, the Juice Radio Show is going to have Lori Fulbright. She is a news anchor, and she's going to be on the show this Thursday at 6 p.m. So you guys definitely tune in. I think this is a real cool opportunity for these kids to see. They can learn from her. They can learn about what she does, and this may inspire more of them to take up journalism because we need some more black journalists, right? And also, y'all go this weekend. If you in Tulsa, you already know this weekend is about to be lit and it's about to be awesome. And if you're in the surrounding areas, just pull through. But this Saturday, you guys, is the Legacy Fest. And now Legacy Fest, it is basically the remembrance of Greenwood and how rich this was, and just remembering, and also just putting in mind that we can actually be back there, right? And I'm happy we have a financial person on, right, to talk about how you can get your money and your ducks in a row, right? Even in the relationships. So we're gonna have Toby Nwangwe, hopefully I said that correctly, this
You did
Saturday.
better
He
than I
is
could have.
he is the headliner performer. I'm so excited about that, y'all. When I found out it was Toby, I was like, I'm so excited. Like I love Toby. I'll be blasting it.
Talking about black
My daughter been
excellence.
singing I Got the Juice since she was 2 years old. She used to be that on replay. We used to, like, yeah. So we was in that little rap for doing the thing, right? So yeah, she is on.
Put
Shout out
some
to
respect
April.
on that RAV4.
That
That
RAV4
little
was
RAV4.
amazing. I love that RAV4. I wish we still had it. But shout out to Mickey Minnie, shout out to April, shout out to my mom. She's in there. Look, she's always in there. She's always showing love. But y'all always in here. Y'all always showing love. Thank y'all so much. And oh, Mickey Minnie said they lock old dude grandma up for helping him. Yeah, y'all. Did y'all know that like they was catching their people, y'all?
Yeah, you an accessory.
they were, they were she like gave him some money. Look, come on, that lady. Oh, let her give her
Okay, she an old accessory. What do you mean?
She slipped some money. She should have just gave
Prime,
him some
like,
cash.
look,
She should have
those
let
are
him
criminals.
like real far away and dropped an envelope of cash.
They
She
kill
knew
people
he
for a
wasn't
living.
supposed to be home.
She should have gave him cash. They can't trace cash.
See, that
I'm just saying, the baby got to eat. He got to get somewhere.
I
You know,
mean,
but look, I want to also say this because a lot of times we don't talk about this. Sometimes we talk about the bad that the police do, but I just want to say every person that was caught, that was arrested, there was no violence towards them. They were literally caught, they were arrested. No one used excessive force. So shout out to all the police officers for just taking care of these black men, because it's also a very scary thing. And I think that's a lot of times some people don't want them to get caught too, because it's like what will happen. But I'm happy that, because if y'all seen the video, I don't know if y'all seen it, but there's a video of the last two getting, well, not the last two, but the two previous, Leo Tate and like I forgot the other guy name, but they got caught and they literally pulled them out the car, but they were not rough with them. They didn't like yell at them. So just wanted to shout out the police for that, because sometimes we see the police officers treating us wrong. So we do need to highlight those moments in which they treat us right, so that you know that everybody isn't like that. And hey, maybe something is changing. Maybe the training is changing. Maybe the training is working. Maybe people are not, as racist or whatever. So
maybe everybody ain't out to get us.
maybe everybody isn't out to get us, right? There's some allies, but they did a good job. So I just wanted to shout those things out. But we about to pass it to Richard Roots, who's about to go ahead and introduce our guest for today. Come on, Richard, you ready?
I am ready. Before I introduce the guest, I want to give you guys just a small summary of what we're going to be talking about. But thank you for tuning in to KBOB 89.9. This is the Black Love Club. So today's topic is, can bad money habits ruin a good relationship? That's deep. I don't think we think about that enough. So I got a few statistics. Did you know that money is the second reason in that marriages end in divorce, next to infidelity? Some people really didn't know that, but that's facts. 31% of couples says that money is the number one source of conflict in their relationships, and 1 in 5 marriages end due to financial problems. Y'all, it's time to break that cycle. So we're going to talk about it today. Today's guest is Raquel Wilson, author of the bestseller Personal Finance Crash Course, What They Didn't Teach You in School. And in 2024, Small Business Association Young Entrepreneurs of the wait. I read it too fast. She is the 2024 Small Business Association Young Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yes.
So I want you guys to meet our guest, Raquel.
Grace and peace, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be back in this space, formerly being
that applause was like
it was delayed, but it was
right.
Coming.
It may not come when you want it, but it's right there on time.
Right. Okay.
Come on.
But I do appreciate y'all for having me. It's been a blessing to build my business here in Tulsa and to ancestrally be returned back to Tulsa in a way. So a lot of my story, even being here in Tulsa, is in relation to Black love of my grand peoples too. So it's good to be here.
That's awesome.
Good. So we have ran into Raquel Wilson so many times. I mean, if you're anywhere in business, in the business world, you in Tulsa, you are for sure to run into her. Some of y'all probably watching like, I know her, but for those who don't know Raquel Wilson, we would like you to tell the audience just a little bit about why you got into finances.
Absolutely. Well, I'm an educator turned entrepreneur, and really, I wouldn't have become a personal finance entrepreneur or created a financial technology business if it weren't for my students. So, shout out to the KIPP Tulsa class of 2022. I loved being a teacher there and creating the first personal finance curriculum there. And really, I think every teacher is an entrepreneur in a way. They're creating solutions to the problems in their own classrooms. And in my own classroom, before, during, and after the pandemic, money was always an issue. So that's really what brought me to this work. And I aim to do all things economic justice, and really just bringing our people a way to create success with money and mindset and even love, as we'll talk about tonight.
Yeah, so I want the audience to really get to know you because you have a lot of things going on. I mean, normally our when we have guests, we would have to like do a little research about our guests, but I mean, she sent us like it was impressive. I should have sent it to you, man. Man, it was so impressive. I've never seen anything like this
By the
before.
grace of God.
But tell us a little bit. I see you have your shirt on too. Tell us a little bit about the For Our Last Names app.
Absolutely. Well, the For Our Last Names app is a tool that's really focused around first generation wealth building. If you're like me, then you didn't inherit any assets, but that isn't the end of my story. If anything, it's really a new start or a beginning. So we really focus on the money mindset portion and helping people turn financial trauma, that moment when your hand starts to sweat when you're about to make a financial decision, for example, turning financial trauma to financial traction and really supporting them on a ready, set, go experience to reach their financial goals.
All right.
Yeah.
And the last thing, Raise the Bar Investment. Tell us about it.
Well, that was a business that actually started in the classroom after teaching my students about personal finance and keeping in mind their unique experiences as students in North Tulsa and as, in large part, descendants of the Tulsa Race Massacre, and really wanting to create financial literacy education that was relevant to them. I mean, there are great books already on the market, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and other books like that, but we don't really see books or education out there, especially at the time, that was relevant to the urban experience, relevant to the underrepresented or divested experience, if we're talking about North Tulsa. So the work we do with Raise the Bar Investments, we have our workbook series, which has now reached 7 different countries. I mean, that's just super, super exciting. Just think that something that was just created for my students and created for the community in which I lived, worked, and served has now reached massive stages. But really through Raise the Bar, I'm happy to be our certified financial education instructor, our money mindset coach, and really just support people in growing their mind and money, as well as supporting organizations and growing the mind and money of their best asset, their people.
That's good.
I'm ready to grow my mind.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I got a question. So is that like a slow clap?
No. No, it's a it's a regular clap.
Oh, see now, okay, so you was just playing with us earlier.
No,
it had like a delay.
It,
It was
it was like, yeah, I hit. There's like 2 claps. There was like claps, and then it's clap 2, and I hit the wrong one. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It don't bother me too much.
Now there's many people in the device that's clapping, and they're like, "You don't pay me enough."
But yeah, no, that's really awesome. One is exciting, and all that you have done with the books that you have, and it's just really cool. So I remember I always try to think of how can we get people in to talk about what they do and how it relates to just in relationships and different things like that. So like, y'all know, I just gotta ask these questions.
Go ahead,
because we know on y'all always bring up the TikToks, right? And y'all remember back then the Cheesecake Bistro girl and the guy. It was like a guy and a girl that was going on a date, and he was supposed to go somewhere else, but she was like real late, and then he ended up was like just taking her to Cheesecake Bistro. And she was upset. Y'all remember that? And it was like a whole big to do thing, right?
Is it actually called Cheesecake Bistro?
Oh, the factory cheesecake.
I was like, well, you know just like making it fancy.
No,
just
you know what? No, wait. In New Orleans, there is a cheesecake.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was asking because
it's Cheesecake Factory.
We have a Cheesecake Bistro in New Orleans.
You know what? Factory do sound like
it
sounds so much worse than
it do the Cheesecake Factory. What?
Yeah, like a factory.
Yeah, it does sound. It sounds a little worse because Cheesecake Bistro it's really nice in New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that from now on.
At,
We're going to
at a
Cheesecake
restaurant. We're
Bistro.
gonna go to a factory.
But he took her there, and it was a whole little thing. And then like people were just like popping up after that. We have like people like the sprinkle lady. I heard
Mhm.
about her and stuff like that. So what is your thoughts about like these people? Because they're like one understands sprinkle. She's like, find a guy with the money, right?
Right.
But the other lady with the thing, she had like these big expectations on a first date.
Mhm.
What's your expectations on like a first date or something like that? Because she had big expectations and they were supposed to go to like a 5-star restaurant or something like that. I don't know, but I would have been fine. Yeah, I would have been fine, but I would have been upset in my head because I hate Cheesecake Factory. Like the menu is, I hate it. It's a book and it's too many decisions. So
That question, that's for me. Nah. We're gonna have a leverage.
what's your thoughts on that? Because obviously I have my views on different things like that, but what is your thoughts regarding like her whole spiel and how she was upset and different things like that? Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I will say, thankfully, I didn't see the TikTok. I tried not to be too much in the discourse. But
Right.
what I will say is values really matter there, as well as lifestyle. Sometimes folks will shoot their shot at others who are maybe live a different lifestyle. And so some could consider that disrespectful if she is, say, doing that for herself every night or every week or on a frequent basis, if that's part of her lifestyle.
That's true.
But most importantly, I would speak to the values. Because maybe she values health, and for that reason, she doesn't want to eat at a restaurant that may have a little more trans fats than other restaurants, for example. So I think that it really just comes down to a conversation, but that's what a first date is for, a conversation.
Yeah.
And especially in the era of digital dating, I mean, there are lots of ways to figure out what are, maybe not value alignments for a first date, or what are potential deal breakers for a first date.
That's true. That's true.
That was such a mature
That
way
was
to handle that
very-
situation.
It was. I mean, now I watched the video, so I'm pretty sure that the trans fat thing wasn't the reason she didn't want to go. That said, I would like to pick your brain. And so, from the standpoint of, let's say, the guys or the younger men who are going to be expected to go on these dates. So, if they're going to be fiscally responsible, how would you say they should go about like approaching it? What are some maybe money rules they should consider before they go and take a woman out on a date, or maybe when they start the initial dating phase?
That's a really great question. And whenever I have the opportunity to speak to young men or just young people who are dating, I talk about the importance of coming prepared, right? And I think at every age group that'll look different. It'll look different for, say, a high schooler to be prepared versus a college graduate versus someone who's, say, divorced, for example. One of the things I talk about a lot with our personal finance workbooks and workshops is one's life stage versus the actual age they are in terms of financial goals and ways to reach that goal. So I just really think it depends on the stage that one is in. I mean, if you are in the space where you're looking to just get started dating, I guess we could speak to like our young 20 somethings maybe.
Or we could do that. Or I mean, I would say anyone who's, I guess, gonna be cognizant of their wallet would be, I mean, I think the information would be valuable either.
Absolutely. Well, I really like the approach to budgeting for your wants. And if someone is starting the date, that might start, in their wants category in their budget. A lot of folks may be familiar with the 50-30-20 budget, for example. If not, I'll just give a quick overview because this is really helpful. And I talk a lot more about different budget approaches and even value-based budgeting in the books, especially Personal Finance Crash Course. But the 50-30-20 budget is an approach that helps you budget 50%, or say at least 50% of your budget towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your savings, or say your investings. So one could consider dating in that wants category, right? You might want to spend some time with someone you like, right? So if someone sees that dating is taking more than 30% of their budget aka their entire want section, that might be a red flag, right? So I would just really encourage someone to really look at their income, look at their finances, set aside maybe if they need a specific number, 30% for your wants. And if you see that dating is taking a lot of that 30%, maybe you might need to take a little change. Maybe it's increasing your income, maybe it's decreasing your expenses, maybe it's dating in a different environment. But what I really do hope that people do understand is love doesn't have a price tag, and everyone is a being of value that deserves value and deserves love. So find it in spaces that make sense for you and that are supportive for your well-being.
I like how she said you have to find like a different environment or something.
I do
Like it
too.
was like
She was like, basically, hey, if you cost more than 30%, you got to go.
you got
I got other things to do. I need to get my money up. I need to start shopping in different places.
Or
You
maybe
got to go if you cost more than 30%. I like it.
And maybe it's just a sign to refocus priorities, right? Like even in business owners can sometimes have a desire to go towards building one feature in their business or launching a new product or service. But sometimes you just gotta be a little more realistic, or just think about a different way to reach your goals. There are different ways to skin a cat. No animal cruelty.
So last week we had an effective communication coach here, and we asked her what would be some red flags. We're going to ask you that same question. What would be some red flags in finances?
Ooh, red flags in finances. From what perspective? Like,
So I want to know, as a single man, if I was a single man, if I started to date this woman, what could I see from a financial perspective that can tell me, okay, this is a red flag?
Of the woman. Okay. So say you're going to reach out to some young shorty and
a young shorty.
and you see, I'm thinking about this question intentionally because my clients don't have any red flags, so it's really hard to think about any at the moment.
Okay.
But
Come on, let's go.
I would
Let's
say
go.
a quick thing. Okay, if someone say, let's say if they only use, I'll give one that I see on social media a lot, like only using a Cash App card, like not having a bank account. And the reason that is a red flag,
Dan, I got to get a bank account.
I'll just say this though,
joking.
because it's a loaded thing, because our
Yeah.
financial institutions haven't always been trustworthy to marginalized peoples, right? So we have to
Yeah.
shout that out and speak to that first.
Right.
But it's so important to have a bank account, not only for one to be able to save, but also for someone to be able to invest depending on the bank. So I will say though, just because it's a red flag doesn't mean it can't be changed. It's all about the mindset they have around it. So similar to how I just talked about the context of financial institutions and distrust, well, after that's explained to someone, they might actually be more willing to get a bank account. Or if they get with one of the bank on banks, that's something you can Google. These are like no fee banks that support you and actually getting your bank account and not having additional fees, right? So I'd say things can be red flags initially, like say only using Cash App or not having a bank account. But those things can be changed with a simple conversation if someone is more open to having a growth mindset. So the most important red flag, not having a growth mindset, not having a money mindset.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get that from your perspective too, because it's kind of a hard question to answer from your perspective, because you don't think anybody who comes to you are red flags, because you feel like situation could be fixed.
Any situation. I've seen it all.
Right.
Bankruptcy, Section 8,
Right.
food stamp. Listen, we can work through it all.
So like you said too, you did mention that, there is hope for the red flag. Like
Absolutely.
Prime said last week, he said, I think what you consider, talking about me, I think what you consider to be a red flag is what I consider to be a stop sign, right?
No, so you introduce yellow flags.
Yeah, yellow. Yeah,
So
there we
I was
go.
saying,
There we go. Yeah.
I actually use a red flag the way you would use a yellow flag.
Right.
I think that a red flag is just a means that, hey, we need to ask a few more questions. We really need to get a little bit more of a read on this particular person, because if this is unchecked or if this is imbalanced, this could pose a problem to the long-term health of the relationship. But I don't think that a single red flag or singular red flags is enough to disqualify someone.
Right.
But with that said, if you come to the conversation with 12, you likely not going to pass the test. But if you got 3, maybe 4, and those are things that we can work on, things that, you're willing to get better on, you have a growth mindset, other things about you kind of outweigh the negatives, I feel like it's a valuable thing. We can still move past them if you have those red flags, because as you mentioned, those can change. But the question isn't whether or not you can change. The question is are you willing to change for me?
Willing.
Right.
And for self, honestly.
Well, yeah, you're 100% right. You have to want to change, but is this worth you changing over? Because at the same point, that person has probably already known they've had these problems for a while now.
Right.
Hopefully.
So, or hopefully,
that's what
which that might
mindset
also
coaches
be
are
a
for.
red flag. Which might also be a red flag. But if they've already known they've had these issues and we haven't seen a change, how am I going to be different? Why am I different?
Right.
Why is this time different?
Right.
And that's what I think the red flags are for, to kind of tell us to dig a little bit deeper so that we can make sure that we are putting ourselves in a positive situation for both of us, really.
Right.
And what I encourage individuals and couples to do is really just dig deep with their questioning, with their learning of each other, because sometimes it's not even a red flag or a yellow flag conversation. It's like a buried bomb. Like, are you actually digging deep with the person to understand what might trigger them financially, what might be financially traumatizing to them? And of course, understanding what their values are, because for some folks, they do want to be in that full provisionary space, specifically in terms of financial provision. So someone say not having certain things financially might not matter to them in terms of their own values. So I definitely say lean in with the questions.
I got a question.
What's that?
So back to the single people. All right. So what if
I'm so sorry. I don't want to cut you off, but I got a question. You said this twice, and I gotta know. Can you just explain what financial trauma is?
Oh yes,
you said that twice, and it's like, okay, I gotta know.
Yes. What is the T on financial trauma? Well, I'll break the word down into pieces because, of course, I'm a teacher by trade. Financial, money, anything to do with money, whether it be interactions that have happened to us because of money, say being evicted from a home while you were a kid, had nothing to do with you, but you were in that space, or as an adult being laid off from a job, right? Those are examples of, say, financial trauma. Of course, trauma, those are aspects that cause harm, that can cause PTSD and other issues down the road. But in short, money issues, so substantial money issues that can cause physical, emotional, and psychological harm.
Right. Can I give another example of financial trauma?
Yeah,
please do.
So if I grew up in a house where, and correct me if I'm wrong,
please.
If I grew up in a house where we believe in saving everything just in case something happens.
Right.
But we didn't believe in spending anything.
Okay.
I believe that can be a trauma that's passed down to, the next generation. So when you start making 6 figures or you just making extra money,
you're just hoarding.
You just have a habit, of just saving everything because of, traumas.
That is true. And we call that a scarcity mindset as compared to an abundance mindset. And when you have a scarcity mindset, for example, like you said, you're going to hoard onto physical things. You're going to hoard onto money. You might have cash under your bed or not be willing to invest or put money into a bank account, for example. You might even not be willing to negotiate or go for larger opportunities within your career pattern. So scarcity mindset, being one of the many financial traumas, can impact many aspects of our life, from our dating to our professional life to our personal life.
Yeah,
100% agree.
I'm happy you asked that question.
Yes,
thank you.
Now back to my question. So for the single people again, what are some green flags? And when I say green flags, when you see these financial habits in this person, you need to snatch them ASAP.
The Bugatti?
Oh, if they got a Bugatti, like
I'm throwing out ideas.
That's a great question, because when we think about a Bugatti, especially if we think about like rap culture, for example, if you grew up in an area like me, then you saw cars as a symbol of wealth. But of course, I've learned that those are more so symbols of riches, not wealth,
100%.
right? So an individual might think that that's a green flag at first.
You're going to have to explain the difference between riches and wealth.
Into it. Well, when it comes to riches versus wealth, I just like to think about it like this. Is something growing your wealth or growing your assets or growing, I'd say, your pot of gold or what can add value? Or is it decreasing your assets, what we call your net worth, or what you could in slang say your pot of gold, right? For example, a car, those are depreciating assets. As soon as you purchase one and or drive it off the lot, it actually goes down in value. Meaning if you bought it for 20,000, or we're talking Bugatti 100,000, then it now goes down to 90,000 or 80,000 as soon as you drive it off the lot. Whereas a home, that's on the wealth side. That's not the richest side. You could buy, depending on how you go about it.
Okay.
You could buy a home. I'll speak to at least my experiences. Buying a home that actually has been bought in equity. So now, say you bought a home for $100,000. Well, you actually have, say, $110,000 in value because of how you might negotiated it, right? So I just say, especially if someone grew up in like 90s and 99, 2000s rap culture like me, you know, seeing the chains and the Bugattis and the nice cars, I grew up thinking that that was the goal and that's how to make it with the American dream. But I soon realized that that's just riches, and that's actually depreciating assets primarily. What I want to go for and what we can go for as a community, that's wealth. Growing assets, appreciating assets.
You know, I love that you add that in there. I was just wanting to put the plug in, but we hear so often about building generational wealth, and it often starts with home ownership. But there's far more that goes into how that actually becomes a appreciating asset to you, and how you go about doing it. Just because you bought a home doesn't necessarily mean you're generating generational wealth, because you could buy a liability. So it does matter, and I'm glad you put that out there.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about purchasing a home, 9 times out of 10, the average American is talking about it in a context of debt, right? And I talk about this in my book, Personal Finance Crash Course, What They Didn't Teach You in School. There's a way to assess good debt, bad debt, and it depends debt. We have a lot of charts in there to really help people understand these complex financial topics in a way that relates to them. So for anyone that's afraid of debt, I'll just say it's all about the strategy. Are you purchasing a single family home, which is just say you and your family living in, or are you purchasing a duplex where, say, someone can live on the other unit and they're actually paying for majority, if not all of the rent, right? Or a multifamily. There's so many different ways to go about it. And even with our upcoming For Our Last Names app, we have different pathways to help people reach these goals faster and in a way that decreases their financial trauma.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, that's
Join the wait list, rtbinvestments.org.
All right, y'all hear that? Y'all can join the wait list, y'all. But I want to kind of dive into just like another topic that definitely, I think now, my opinion, I think women have always been on the rise. Black women have always been on the rise. But today, I would say Black women are making a lot more money. So the conversations that are happening is a lot of people are just digressing from either the Black man just because they feel like, well, he's not like a breadwinner at this point because they're making more money. So like, how does that, do you feel as though like that's something that us women should like say, hey, go ahead. I understand, like, yeah, you can have your, like, I feel like preference are preferences, but I feel like also, are we just looking at the man as that? But do you think it's like okay that women are just leaving, and do you think a relationship can survive if the woman is making more money?
Here's what I encourage every listener to do today: to write down your money values. What do you want your money to show that you value? Okay. And this matters in relation to dating, because a woman can understand what her own values are, and anyone can understand what their own values are. And that can help them not only in how they spend their money, but also how they spend their time. Now, in this topic of kind of like the role switching and who's the financial provider in the household, well, then we have to have a conversation about provision. What is provision? Financial provision is only one aspect of the provision pyramid that I like to think about. If you're a woman of faith like myself, then spiritual provision is the foundation of that pyramid, right? Then we can talk about financial provision, emotional provision, physical provision. Like if somebody run up on us in the alley at 3 a.m., like, am I good? So I think that when society can sometimes oversimplify provision to only be fiscal, financial, monetary, we forget the value that is the whole person and the different types of provision that whole people can offer to each other.
I love this guest. It's so nice to hear someone, you articulate that very well, that the money is only part of provisioning. And I think we mentioned this on a different show, is that when you kind
I
of
remember the
deduce a
show.
man down to just being a wallet, you really devalue you really devalue him in a way that's really frankly not fair, and you really lose a lot of the blessings of the Black man. And so it's just kind of unfortunate that we're kind of in this current place and time, because the Black man, especially, it seems like against our to our Black women in many ways, we're kind of looked down as less than, which is unfortunate right now, because everywhere else we are the hottest thing on the market. Like, if you are looking for if everyone that goes and shops for the man that they want and dream about, it's the Black man. And it's, you've seen it across all the races, all across the planet, except for our Black women, unfortunately, a lot of times. And that's one of the sad realities of that.
Yeah, definitely. I love that answer as well, because definitely I feel as though there are so many things. There was a post I just seen today, and the lady, she was like, when she was basically showing when she was with like another guy, how she looked, and now she's like with this wealthy white guy, and there was like which version of me look happier. And I was so happy the comment section came through, because I went to it. I was like, both of y'all look miserable. But I'm just saying, like, you just gotta, you're just in the Moldovs, how you say it, whatever. You're in one of those expensive places that I have not been yet. But you're just out there, but you still look very like miserable, and he looks aggravated. But at the same time, I'll tell you this thing: this man might got money, but he's probably, from what I hear, they're not emotionally available, right? I hear that also they can't. That man couldn't protect her from a fly, but at the same time, she was with him.
He could pay for
bodyguards.
bodyguards.
He could pay, but they ain't had none. I ain't see nobody out there with them. But it's just like, yeah, he could pay for that. But at the same time, do I want the bodyguard to protect me? Yeah, I guess in certain situations, yeah, but I would still love it if my man can protect me too. So,
oh man, so you want me to risk getting my life?
No, I'm not saying that.
I could just afford to have Jerome over here, who's trained to deal with this problem.
you can get that, but at the same time, is my man still capable to like fight somebody off? You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want no weak man. Like, seriously,
or at least strategically diffuse the situation. Like, again, values. What do you value, right? And I'll also say, if we do reduce someone down to money provision or fiscal provision, then we're also going to have to remember that we have to play some ego economics, okay? Because if someone is only a financial provider and does not consider mental or social or emotional provision, then now you are going to have to make some trade-offs with ego. And so we have to bring ego into this conversation, even for the Black man to speak to how this years and centuries, in a sense, of dehumanization has impacted his ego.
100%.
So even going back to this question earlier about green flags, a green flag is self-awareness, is therapy, is being willing to challenge that inner man, that ego, for self and for, say, the person they're looking to build a life with.
Yeah, not because you're a financial expert. There is a lot of talk about people combining finances.
Oh, yes.
So, like, what is your thoughts on combining finances? Like, if you're married, like, I think it's stupid to do if you're single and you're like not married. I feel like don't do that. You're wasting your time. But I feel like in marriage, I feel like it's a lot safer then. But what are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. Well, marriage is oneness. So I believe that you should have a joint bank account for many different purposes, for many different reasons. But what I will say is usually the critique for having a joint account is, well, what happens if the man leaves, or what happens if the other person is now put in this vulnerable space? I think you also should have a conversation around separate accounts as well. That's one of the questions that I have in one of our digital products, 7 things things to talk about before you take the next step with your partner, because you should have that conversation. Is there distrust? If there is distrust, it will come up in that conversation. And at that point, it's just a molehill that you are either willing to or not willing to overcome. And I always encourage my couples that I counsel and coach to consider collaboration rather than just making a compromise. Sometimes it's not just doing, say, what one person or the other wants to do. It's creating imagining and creating a new solution that maybe neither of you have done before. So I am pro joint account for the sake of marriage being oneness. And also, I'm also pro finding what works in a collaborative way for both people. And especially depending on their individual financial traumas, they might need to have separate accounts as well, but at least it's discussed.
Yeah. Now I do want to ask you this question because while you were talking, Travis Hunter, he's been in the media a lot. What is your thoughts on prenups? Like, I had thoughts on prenups before. Now I'm kind of like, I feel like maybe it can be good in certain situations, but what's your thoughts on prenups?
Now, what's tea with Travis Hunter and the prenups?
Now, Travis Hunter is he had got like the Heisman Trophy award and stuff like that, and he's with this girl, and
I know
obviously
about that. I know about that.
so people are just saying like you should have got a prenup.
Oh, and they didn't get a prenup.
They didn't get a prenup.
Okay.
So
if I would say it's like watching somebody you don't know, but you know, like you've seen them on TV, you kind of watch them growing up, and you see a bus like coming, and it's not coming real fast, but it's apparently on the pathway, and they smiling at it, and you really want to say something about it, but that's kind of their life. That's kind of what I think the prenup conversation is like. It's like, we've seen this story before. There's already been the telltale signs. Kind of know this bus is gonna come, and then it's like, man, you didn't sign a prenup either. I hope you won the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Well, definitely praying blessings on their marriage. I hope that it goes well. Whenever someone asks me, well, why prenup? I always like to say, well, why car insurance? Why home insurance? And in particular, when it comes to car insurance, I think it's interesting that you get a discount if you go to driver's ed classes first. The way that connects to prenups and marriage, I think that's premarital counseling. That's kind of like that discount or that extra insurance you get. So number one, I do recommend prenups. It's just like car insurance, home insurance. I mean, why not insure your marriage? And number two, there are ways to also still decrease the risk of having to use that prenup, like having premarital counseling, right? Now, I think that I'm not talking like Beyonce level prenups that have like all these different cheating clauses and kid clauses and all the details of that. But I think that as long as you're having that conversation with trust, Bill, and potentially with a mediator, if you feel like there are some triggers that might come up, maybe a financial therapist like myself, I don't think there's a problem with having a prenup. It's really just about a conversation and getting aligned on values.
Yeah, I think prenups are probably actually good, because I think if a prenup was in place in some of these marriages, like a lot of people definitely wouldn't get taken advantage of, because there's a lot of situations people get taken advantage of in marriage, and it's like, not that they didn't start off in love, it's just that the divorce got real messy. But if we had those things in place, is none of that, right? So that person is going to think, they're not going to go ahead and like destroy. So I've seen people like post online like, I'm going to destroy his life, and it's sad because it's like, that man was good to you, and for whatever reason y'all part, and now you want to destroy his life, you want to take the kids away and stuff like that. I feel like having situations like that, like even in the prenup saying that like, no, you cannot take full custody of the child unless I have been like abusive or sexually abusive towards the kids or something, like something like that, like but other than that, like I feel like it would save so many people. I feel like that's definitely conversations that we need to talk about, because we should definitely be there. And also I just want to say, Ebony Jones shouted you out. She said, we love Raquel Wilson, come through with the wisdom. Shout out to you, Ebony, for tuning in.
Ebony not gonna like me if I'm about to say. So Nikki, since you brought it up, so, with the woman nowadays having, as many rights, if not more rights than men nowadays, and all the same access to resources and opportunities, from your argument, what's the argument to not just get rid of alimony altogether?
Well, I'm going to say this. because alimony is definitely needed. There is situations where, just like when you have these joint bank accounts, there's people that become traditional wives, right? There's the trad wife thing, right? And I see that a lot of times, a lot of these women, they stop working, and they, they have like no prenup. They stop working. They're taking care of their kids for all these years, and then the man just ups and leaves them. So it's like he's gone. He found a younger woman. Now she has to go work a regular job, like a regular job, and now she has nothing, and this man is not responsible at all. So it's like in situations like that, yes, we need that, because there's women that are being, I don't think the man, like in the beginning, thought like, I'm gonna like abuse her and I'm gonna do this to her, but eventually maybe he stopped liking her or whatever happened. And in those situations, I feel like, yeah, definitely it's needed.
So if I could play devil's advocate here a little bit, I agree with you. And I think initially that's where alimony came from in theory, was that, the woman was not working. She was traditional. She got wholly independent. And if things went south, she needed a way to be taken care of. But I guess nowadays, where most couples are working on dual incomes, we're already talking about having separate bank accounts for financial trauma. What is the real? It almost seems like it's an incentive in many ways, because we looked up, and I think, what was it last time we checked? About 1% of divorces are filed by the woman on this at this point.
Could you repeat that
I
stat?
know it was high, but
I think it
I'm
was
not
like
super sure.
71, maybe 72% of divorces are being filed by the woman, the wife in this case. And so if we go working with the argument that the women are leaving more than ever, and most certainly more than the men, is alimony still providing its intended purpose?
But at the same time, you can't just put that on there, because like women are leaving not just for, sometimes men will not leave a relationship. They will string it on just until that woman leaves. So that woman has gotten fed up and she finally leaves. The woman is just quicker to make the decision and be the bad guy in
Is it
that
till death
sense.
do us part, or till I don't like doing this
Well,
no more?
Where's abuse
no.
play the
It's,
role?
but at the same time, if you're constantly being emotionally abused in a relationship, I don't recommend any woman to stay. I don't recommend any woman to
What is
be.
emotional abuse?
What emotional abuse, like being talked down to, basically somebody who just shut you out and he's gone, he's not open to therapy, different things like that. So that's being emotionally abusive to somebody that wants to work it. Now this woman, we women, we go through several phases in 1 month. So that woman is going to be terribly depressed, and that weighs on our body. That can turn into cancer and all other things. I don't think any woman should stay in that, which is why we should have prenups in place. Because if, guess what, that man would start acting right if he had a prenup. He wouldn't be acting all stupid, because he know he gonna come back to that contract and he gonna say, I'm gonna have to give her such, because we're gonna set it in stone. If this should happen, this is what you like, this is what you get, this is what I pay if I am doing this. Like, it's set in stone, it's set in law. And I feel like that will make create stronger marriages, and to make people think a little bit twice before they get into a committed relationship like that.
That's no penalty.
One thing
I
I'd love
agree.
to add to this too, in relation to prenups, when you're creating a prenup, you're doing it at the most loving time of your marriage, before you get the divorce, right? So you're making the best decisions for your future selves in love rather than in hate.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people here that are still apprehensive about prenup. So just really think about it in that lens, making that decision when you are in your most loving moments.
Yeah.
And in relation to alimony, I think it's important to speak to the system of patriarchy that we live in, right?
Oh, that wonderful P word.
So, I mean, we can talk about things like lust. We can talk about individual outcomes like lust. We can talk about individual outcomes like abuse. But when we think about why these things happen at arguably a higher rate to female presenting people,
Mhm.
we have to acknowledge the patriarchal system that exists. We have to acknowledge not only say the racial wealth gap when we talk about Black women, but also the gender wealth gap when we talk about women overall. So I just always love to bring it back to the systems that play the
You can't just slide that in
systems.
there.
So everybody can make sure you vote so we can change these systems.
You can't just slide that in there. I was with you rocking with the patriarchy thing, but people throw that patriarchy word around like there's an alternative. Like, name me a matriarchy that has done anything substantial.
Well, there are quite a few actually within African society. And even when we think about early history, first 100 years, 100 AD, 0 to 100 AD, we have lots of written reports of women matriarchies working well. And I think even
Okay.
some of them still exist to this day if anyone wants to
Let-
like.
let
So
me-
why
Google them.
haven't we seen them?
let me say this before. I'm gonna be real with everybody on here, okay? And I hope nobody is offended or whatever.
Come
But
on.
before the white man basically colonized this whole world, the Black man and the Black woman, or the brown skinned man and the brown skinned woman, they worked together in unity. And it did not matter if the woman was the head, that man had no different, because she was doing what was the best for the tribe, for the village. And the man, he just fell in line because he trusts her leadership. Now we have this patriarchal society, and that's just quote unquote for the white man's world, honestly. And they put these laws and positions in to favor them. This is not to favor you, the Black man. This caused division amongst us, because any society, when you think of natives, when you think of indigenous people, any society from anywhere, they always work together. That's how we work. And that's just the truth of the matter.
No,
So I just have to
agree
be
with
real
you.
with,
I'm
with
not-
that one.
I'm not lobbying that women should be second-class citizens. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm arguing is that the big tenet of a patriarchal system is that there's a patriarch at the top. That just means that it's following a man's leadership, and it's typically for the long-term planning and the logical thinking.
What number
The-
president are we on? Man president?
Was
I
it
don't know,
50? What,
45?
50?
Patriarchal
Oh, I don't
system
know.
in the
I don't
United
know.
States of America.
The Trumpers know. So.
But so with that said, is that like, even if we look at nature, we don't find really any matriarchal systems. Most of the systems that aren't patriarchal in nature, they're asexual. Seahorses can mate by themselves.
But at the same time, in nature, you see the male and the female working together. There is no competition, and that's what I'm saying. That's what we were at first.
But the male lion is running the pride. We do know that.
He runs the pride, but guess what? He's not eating without that woman.
I agree. I'm
on.
not saying I'm not saying you're second-class citizens, but I am saying that you do need a leader.
No, but
And
what
if
I'm
we
saying
keep
is we
arguing
work
for this system
together.
that we've
It's not
never
a
seen
leader.
happen.
It's
we've
not
never
a
seen
leader.
happen.
I have a question about what we see and what we don't see. Whether we consider patriarchy or we don't, we have to understand that our media system is skewed. I mean, that's even the reason
fair.
that this whole space
Yeah.
That's
exists,
fair.
to uplift certain
Mhm.
media. It's the reason that if you turn on certain channels at whatever time at night, they have the commercials about Africa and it being underserved. We see the worst of Africa. But if you
Mhm.
actually go over there, if you have people that are connecting you with what Africa really looks like, and I'm speaking it to it, of course, as a continent, of course, every individual country is different, but we have to understand that the media is skewed. So when we ask about what we don't see and what we do see, we also have to think about, well, what media is being shown to me? What research am I going to seek? Because it's out there. It's definitely out there, especially in the
100%.
age of AI.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Definitely.
I will button with this question, and then I'm
I
right
was,
because I'm probably
about to give you
I know.
prime time.
Yeah,
even,
we
even
got it.
though
We
it's
gotta
already
get
is it prime
started.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though we already started prime time because the gloves coming off, he was getting a little
You know what?
spicy
Let's
over
just
there.
keep it going. I'm gonna just keep it going. All right, don't even worry about the post. I'm
All
just
right,
keep it going. Just give me the music.
All right, go ahead.
I like this.
Is the music going? Okay, that
Oh, I
was
can
like,
hear it now.
all right, y'all. It is prime time with Edgar Prime. He was already fighting today, but we finally got it because he was agreeing with her. So I was like, I'm finally
Man, I can't
happy.
agree with nobody. Okay, it's all right. So this is the question I want to leave you ladies with, and me and Richard Roots was talking about this not too long ago. Is I hear this conversation a lot about we can do this together. We're equals. It's okay if the woman leads. I can live with that. But how many of you women And I didn't mean that like in the you women, but you just follow me here.
Thank you. Needed
You
the
women.
disclaimer.
So, how many of you want a man you have to lead? Or better question, what place is there in a home if for a man if he's not the leader? What is his role? What is he there for?
So what we're not saying that a man cannot lead, because I love a man that can lead.
But isn't that
And my
patriarchal?
husband is a great lead. No, but at the same time, he allows me to lead because he knows that, you know what, this is your area. I'm not going to step in your area because this is your area. Why would I try to lead your area? Like the thing that you're good at. So that's the difference versus like a man is like, I got to do everything. Because no, you can't do everything. That's why God, that's why
100%.
God created a helpmate, because he said when
Not
he
a
created,
co-pilot.
no, he created a man. Co-pilot is a
Helpmate,
help.
not
A
co-pilot.
co-pilot is the same thing as a helpmate. I don't know what type of argument that is, but
A co-pilot can fly the plane.
he saw that you by yourself was insufficient, and he was like,
I
I
agree.
gotta make somebody else. So he made a woman, and
To
when we
help
work,
me.
exactly, a co-pilot.
So that means I
same
gotta
thing.
be in front. So there is no other place in your home
Co-pilot
for
sit side
me
by
other than
side.
being your son. I'm either your son or I'm your leader.
So what he said is, can two people fly the ship?
No,
Can
that's
two people
when,
fly the plane
but
at the
just
same
like a
time?
co-pilot, when you need them to step in, they step in. You're not doing it at the same time. You're stepping in when you need to.
So what I hear is one
Yeah.
person flies through turbulence and one person flies for the takeoff and touchdown. In my mind, that's a non-patriarchal society, technically an egalitarian society, but ultimately these societies in minority do exist. But it definitely does make me want to research more about it. And I encourage our viewers to think about like what gender roles work in your house. It doesn't have to be what you grew up seeing it. It doesn't have to
100%.
be a patriarchal society. Ultimately, it just has to be what works for you and what honors your bodies, as we only
Right.
get one.
Yeah,
100% on that. That's facts on that.
Definitely. Y'all, we gonna wrap it up. First of all, this show was phenomenal. I'm so happy because I was like, he's over there agreeing with everything. Oh my gosh, how dare he?
Make good points. I'm sorry.
Man.
But yes, first of all, Raquel, thank you so much for being on the show. You were phenomenal. Look, I'm about to cue the claps. There we go. You were phenomenal. Thank you so much for being on the show. I am excited. But Richard, can you close us out? Look, I don't have
Yes.
your song up. I'm sorry. I messed
still
up.
bobbing out
it's
to
all
mine.
good. It's all good. So we're gonna wrap it up. I actually want I would guess Raquel to share a few things about these books and how it can help people in their relationships and in their finances.
Oh man, well, if this conversation made your head hurt or made you feel like you need to work on your money mindset, this first book, Holistic Money Mindset, Mental Preparation for Abundance, is really what you're going to need. It'll help you identify your financial traumas, aka what those money issues are that keep getting you stuck at night or keeping you awake at night more so. And it will actually give you some strategies on how to align your values with your money spending. The second book in the series is the Personal Finance Crash Course, What They Didn't Teach You in School. This is based on what I taught my students, and I've seen this book go from ages 6 to 60. I've seen college students purchase it and their parents get it and work with like the grandkid with it. It's really great to see how folks go through the Words of Wealth chapter and work through our digital organizers to really understand debt, credit, investing even, because I didn't even talk about this part of my story, but I paid off my student loans from investing in under 3 years. So I talk a lot about different strategies in the second book, Personal Finance Crash Course, What They Didn't Teach You in School, as a financial educator who taught it to her students in school. And the third book is the Money Moves Workbook, Achieving Your Wealth Goals in 12 months or less. It's a 12-month organizer, so you can go into each month with proactive intentions that align with your values, and also so you can exit each month and quarter and end of year term with reflections and next steps. We even have a bonus section in the back that talks about root causes to why your budget might not be working and how to address that. So this is the Black Wealth Freedom Series, 2,000 plus copies, 6 countries. It's also available on Fulton Street Books if you want to support 2 Black-owned businesses. But you can also find this series at rtbinvestments.org. That's RTB for Raise the Bar, investments.org.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you,
This
thank
is
you, thank
important.
you.
Oh yeah, thank you for coming.
You blessed us.
Oh, most certainly, most certainly.
All praises to the Most High. Thank you. Let's heal our money mindset, y'all.
All right, Richard, close us out.
Okay, I'm gonna close out in prayer.
He's so
Thank you for
smart.
tuning in to KBOB 89.9. This was the Black Love Club. And remember, Black women,
We
we
love
love
you.
you.
And
And
black men,
man, we love you. And Black Child, you are golden. And until next time, you guys, peace.